The salt air from the harbor mixed with expensive perfume at Roberto's Italian restaurant. My sister Maya's MBA graduation lunch. White tablecloth. Champagne flutes. 40 relatives celebrating the golden child's latest achievement. I sat at the end of the table picking at grilled salmon I couldn't taste. My phone kept buzzing. Airbnb notifications. Booking confirmations. Messages from strangers asking about check-in procedures for my beach house. My beach house. The one I'd bought 3 years ago with money from my software consulting business. The one with the wraparound deck and ocean view. The one my family called excessive and showing off. Dad stood up, tapping his wine glass. Maya's accomplished so much. MBA from a top program. But graduate school isn't cheap. He smiled at her. Luckily, we found a solution. Maya pulled out her phone, turning it toward the table. A calendar filled with colored blocks. Names. Dates. Dollar amounts. Sarah's beach house, Dad continued like I wasn't sitting right there. We've listed it on Airbnb for the summer season. $800 per night. 12 families have already paid deposits. That's $86,400 toward Maya's remaining tuition balance. The table erupted in applause. Mom beamed. Aunts and uncles nodded approvingly. Practical. Responsible. Using resources wisely. My cousin Jake leaned over. That's smart. You barely use that place anyway. I said nothing. Just watched Maya swipe through her phone, showing relatives the booking calendar. June through August completely filled. Families who'd paid deposits ranging from $2,400 to $4,800 depending on length of stay. Dad pulled out printed confirmation emails. We've been transparent with guests. Clean towels, beach access, kayaks included. Maya's handling all communication. I've already bought supplies, Maya added. Sheets, toiletries, welcome baskets. This is going to be amazing. My phone buzzed again. Another notification. A family from Ohio asking about parking. I excused myself to the bathroom. Stood in the marble-tiled space, hands gripping the cold porcelain sink. 3 years ago when I bought that house, Dad had called it irresponsible. Mom said I was trying to prove something. Maya asked why I needed something so big when I lived alone. Now they'd monetized it. Without asking. Without telling me. Just listed my property on Airbnb and collected deposits from 12 families. I pulled up my phone. Logged into the county property records. There it was, 247 Shoreline Drive. Owner, Sarah Mitchell. Sole owner. My name only. Then I opened Airbnb. Searched my address. The listing appeared. Professional photos. My photos from when I'd posted about it on Instagram. Description written in Maya's voice. Charming beach retreat. Perfect for families. Sleeps 8. House rules. Pricing. Calendar blocked through August. Host profile, Maya Mitchell. Joined 2 months ago. No reviews yet. But 12 confirmed bookings. I understood something standing there. The gambler's fallacy in human form. I'd been feeding the slot machine of family for years, convinced that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, stayed quiet enough, eventually they'd see my value. But the jackpot never comes when the machine is rigged against you. The ghost ledger had been building for years and it wasn't about money. When I landed my first major consulting contract at 24, Dad said, nice. Probably a fluke. Cost. Confidence in my abilities never fully recovered. When I bought the beach house at 28, Mom said, show off. Cost. Joy in my achievement permanently tainted. When Maya dropped out of her first MBA program, I loaned her $15,000. She never paid it back. Dad said, family helps family. Cost. Understanding that family was a one-way transaction. Every family dinner where Maya's minor accomplishments got standing ovations while my business milestones got, that's nice. Cost. Belief that my success would ever matter to them. This wasn't about a house. It was about being treated like a resource, not a person. An ATM, not a daughter. A means to Maya's ends, never worthy of my own celebration. I called the number I'd saved 6 months ago. Coastal Property Management. The company I'd hired to maintain the property. This is Sarah Mitchell. I own 247 Shoreline Drive. Someone's fraudulently renting my house on Airbnb. Ms. Mitchell. We've been trying to reach you. We received several calls today about that listing. We'll send our legal officer immediately. Can you provide your current location? I gave them the restaurant address. Washed my hands. Looked at myself in the mirror. My hands were steady. I walked back to the table. Sat down. Smiled. Maya was showing Aunt Carol the welcome basket design. Beach-themed. Seashell soaps, local coffee, restaurant guides. Dad explained his long-term plan. After summer season, if this works well, we'll list it year-round. Winter rates, obviously lower, but steady income for Maya's career development fund. My career fund apparently was my house. My achievement. My asset. Now there's to leverage without permission. 18 minutes later, a woman in a navy blazer walked into the restaurant. Mid-50s. Professional. Leather folder under her arm. She scanned the room, spotted me, walked directly to our table. Sarah Mitchell? Yes. She pulled out credentials. Catherine Wong, legal officer, Coastal Property Management. We need to discuss your property immediately. The table went silent. Dad's wine glass paused midair. Maya's smile froze like ice forming on glass. Catherine opened her folder. We received multiple inquiries today about an Airbnb listing for 247 Shoreline Drive. The listing shows 12 confirmed bookings totaling $86,400 in collected deposits. He turned to Dad. Are you Michael Mitchell? I am. Did you create this Airbnb listing? Well, yes, but Sarah barely uses. Catherine pulled out documents. Property deed. Management contract. Airbnb terms of service. She laid them on the table like a prosecutor presenting evidence. 247 Shoreline Drive is owned solely by Sarah Mitchell. She has an active property management contract with our company, granting us exclusive authority over any rental arrangements. No other party has legal right to list, rent, or collect payment for this property. She placed a printed screenshot of Maya's Airbnb profile beside the deed. This listing violates multiple California laws. Fraud. Misrepresentation. Theft by false pretenses. Unauthorized commercial use of private property. Maya went pale. Dad said it was fine. What your father said is legally irrelevant. He doesn't own this property. Catherine's voice carried through the restaurant. Other diners had stopped eating, watching our table. You've collected $86,400 from 12 families under fraudulent pretenses, promising access to property you have no authority to rent. Dad stood up, face reddening. Now wait a minute. Sarah barely uses that house. It sits empty while Maya drowns in tuition debt. We're family. Surely we can work this out. Family status doesn't grant ownership rights, Mr. Mitchell. Catherine pulled out her phone, turned the screen toward him. California Penal Code 484. Theft by false pretenses. You represented yourself as having authority over property you don't own. You collected substantial money based on that false representation. That's textbook fraud. He looked at Maya. And you've been communicating with guests. Promising amenities. Setting check-in procedures. Purchasing supplies. You're an active, willing participant in this fraud. Mom found her voice. Surely this is just a family misunderstanding. Is it? Catherine turned to me. Ms. Mitchell, were you aware of this Airbnb listing before today? No. I discovered it during this lunch. Did you give verbal or written permission for anyone to list your property for rental? No. Did you authorize the collection of any deposits from prospective guests? No. Catherine closed her folder with a sharp snap. Then this isn't a misunderstanding, Mrs. Mitchell. This is criminal fraud. 40 relatives who'd been applauding 5 minutes ago now studied their plates with intense fascination. Catherine continued, her voice professional and cold. Coastal Property Management contacted Airbnb's trust and safety team 30 minutes ago. The fraudulent listing has been removed from the platform. All 12 bookings are being cancelled effective immediately. All guests will receive complete refunds within 3 to 5 business days. Refunds? Maya's voice cracked. From where? From whoever collected the deposits. You, Ms. Mitchell. Catherine pulled out business cards, placed one in front of Dad and one in front of Maya. You have 48 hours to refund all guests in full. $86,400 total. If any guest fails to receive their complete refund, they can file individual police reports for fraud. Our company will provide comprehensive documentation supporting every claim. She looked around the table. I'd also strongly advise against any form of retaliation or unauthorized contact with Ms. Mitchell or her property. Coastal Property Management maintains comprehensive security monitoring. Any unauthorized access, including by family members, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent. Catherine turned to me. We'll conduct a complete property inspection tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to document any unauthorized entry. If your family has keys to the property, we'll rekey all locks and upgrade the security system at no charge to you. I nodded. My hands were steady. My voice was clear. Please proceed with everything. Catherine left. The table sat in absolute silence. Even the restaurant seemed quieter, other diners processing what they'd witnessed. Finally, Dad spoke. Sarah, be reasonable. We can fix this. No. Maya genuinely needs that tuition money. Maya needed to ask permission before committing fraud with property she doesn't own. We're family. Family shares. Family asks first. Family respects boundaries. Family doesn't commit crimes. Mom tried her guilt approach. You always make everything so dramatic and difficult. I made this difficult? My voice stayed level. I bought a house with money I earned. You listed it on Airbnb without permission, collected $86,400 from strangers, and announced it at a public lunch like it was your right. I didn't create this situation. You did. Maya was crying now, mascara running. I already paid my tuition deposit with that money. I already bought hundreds of dollars in supplies. How am I supposed to refund $86,400? I don't have it anymore. That, I said quietly, is no longer my problem. It stopped being my problem the moment you decided my property was yours to exploit. I stood up, took my purse, looked at the table of relatives who'd applauded Dad's fraudulent announcement. For 3 years you've called my success showing off. My beach house was excessive. My consulting business was probably a fluke, or trying to prove something. But the exact moment you wanted to use my assets for Maya's benefit, suddenly they had tremendous value. I looked at Dad. You couldn't celebrate my achievement. But you could monetize it. I looked at Maya. You couldn't respect my property. But you could steal from it. I looked at Mom. You couldn't be proud of me. But you could be complicit in fraud against me. I pulled cash from my wallet, placed it on the table. Enough to cover my untouched salmon. Coastal Property Management has my full authorization to prosecute any unauthorized access to my property. That includes everyone at this table. I walked toward the door. Behind me, chaos erupted. Maya sobbing. Dad yelling. Mom trying to calm everyone. Relatives whispering urgently. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Email from Catherine. Locks rekeyed tomorrow 9 a.m. Security system upgraded. Full property inspection scheduled. You're protected. Another email. From Airbnb's legal team, offering to provide documentation supporting any legal action against the fraudulent listing creators. Another. From my property manager. Several guests were understanding when we explained the fraud situation. 3 families asked if the property might be available through legitimate channels next summer. Should we discuss proper rental management? I sat in my car. Typed back, extremely interested. Let's set up legitimate rental management, with me as the sole authorized party. 3 months later I sat on my beach house deck. Morning coffee steaming in the cool ocean breeze. The house was mine again. Truly mine. Locks changed. Security upgraded. Property management handling everything properly now. The legitimate Airbnb listing, in my name only, managed professionally through proper channels, had been booked solid for the next 6 months. Revenue flowing into my account. My savings. My business fund. My choice how it's used. Maya's tuition crisis had eventually resolved itself. She'd taken out student loans. Found a campus job. Applied for scholarships. What she hadn't done was repay a single dollar of those deposits. 7 families had filed small claims suits. She'd settled 4, still fighting 3. Her credit score had taken substantial damage. Dad and Mom had called 19 times over 3 months. I'd answered 0. Their voicemails evolved from angry to pleading to resigned to bitter. Sarah, we need to talk about this like adults. Your mother is devastated. You're destroying her. Maya made one mistake, but you're annihilating the entire family over it. Fine. Have it your way. Don't come crawling back. The final message came 2 weeks ago. From Dad. 5 words. You're removed from the trust. I deleted it without feeling anything. My cousin Jake called once. Everyone's saying you overreacted. It was just a misunderstanding about family property. Jake, if someone listed your car on Turo without permission and collected $86,000 in rental fees, would you call that a misunderstanding? Long pause. That's actually a fair point. Exactly. I'd learned something critical through this. Family isn't defined by shared DNA. It's defined by mutual respect. And respect means understanding that boundaries aren't negotiable, property rights aren't suggestions, and where family doesn't mean your achievements are my resources. My sister needed tuition money. She didn't need my house. She could have asked for a loan. She could have requested help finding legitimate work. She could have respected that my property was mine alone. Instead, she treated my success as her solution. My achievement as her ATM. My boundary as her obstacle to remove. The ocean stretched endlessly before me. Mine to enjoy without anyone trying to monetize it for someone else's benefit. My phone buzzed. Email from Catherine. September bookings at 95% capacity. Quarterly revenue, $52,800. Your property, your rules, your profit. I smiled. Sipped my coffee. Watched seagulls circle above the waves. The property they called excessive was now generating substantial income on my terms. They wanted to profit from my achievement. They should have respected it first. They wanted to use my success. They should have celebrated it first. They wanted me to be family. They should have treated me like family first. The beach house stands. The boundaries hold. And I am finally completely free.